pursuit of learning and unlearning. Today I'm going to ask you to do one thing. If you're enjoying the content that we're bringing to you, kindly subscribe, share, and like our work. What does that help? It helps us to bring more guests who are more intelligent, who are more helpful, who have more information to help us and encourage the work that we do. So today we are discussing ethical decision for young leaders. In fact, it's leadership amongst young people. Put talent in Jan.
Sikhona bonjani?
It's corner put.
Yeah.
In this journey of learning and unlearning, kindly introduce yourself to our audience today so that they'll understand why we are talking to Talente today.
Yeah, my name is Talente Yingwana. Quentin. Yeah, that's it. I'm a student here in Zulu. Studying computer science and applied maths. And also, yeah, that's it.
Okay, and where did you grow up?
Okay, so I grew up in. It's quite a complex question, you know. I'm originally from Lesotho, you know, in Mogalesuku. But we grew up in Qwaqwa in the Eastern Cape. No, sorry, in Free State. And also I moved to Eastern Cape because my mother's from there.
Okay.
She's from Pizana. So I stayed in Pizana, stayed in Limpopo, stayed here in KwaZulu-Natal. And also I'm still here now, you know. Did
So
my junior degree also here. And also doing my other degree this side. So yeah, it's been like that.
So how many provinces have you been in?
I've been to all provinces. Not staying there. But I've
Okay.
been to all provinces, but I've stayed in 4. It's the 5th one, should be. Yeah, because I've also stayed in Gauteng. Yeah, so it's been a roller coaster.
How many languages can you speak?
I speak 7, now 8. Is Zulu. Ngiyasikhuluma nje Zulu impela. And ngazi ukuhlukanisa ukuthi this is from Mangoes. You know those Mangoes comrades? Speak differently. You've got this side, you know, which is Debenguni and Slalanguni, and you've got Poshevstein. I think they speak kind of what you call Ispat, you know, which is south coast until go what you call go Harding, PowerPoint also, you know. So naso siyahlukisa Zulu. But I'm an African.
Yeah,
That's what
an
matters.
African.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
what. Yeah, so that's it.
Okay.
What inspired you to take the role of leadership?
Leadership. It's the upbringing, you know. It's lived experiences and realities, because you know where we come from. As my background is so cosmopolitan, you know, you tell, but it's seeing injustices, you know, because I've stayed in Lokshini, I've stayed in Makaya, and you know you feel lack because once you have been exposed to some things, you know, once you go to Makaya, you know, you see that there's inequality in a sense, you know. So some things. I mean, I've been into leadership since high school, you know. I've been a president 2 times, grade 11, grade 12. I've led a protest, you know. It was experiences and lived experiences and realities at that time, you know. So that's what actually inspired me to be leadership, you know. But I've been other positions of leadership because there was a fraternity that we were part of, which was Ubuntu organization. It was an after-school program. I acted as a deputy president there, then progressively became a president. And yeah, so the injustices and situations that we were in that time needed one to be a leader at that time, you know. Never mind my background of politics and my family being also in that political arena, you know.
So the family was involved in politics?
They're still involved in politics. But they are
in what sectors?
So they're in the ANC in the Free State. But I'm in the EFF. I got to be in the EFF from 2018 as the first year.
Okay.
In UKZN. Yeah, but I grew up in Kossas. And progressively, I was part of the ANC Youth League. I joined in the age of 14. It was 2014. That's when I joined the ANC Youth League. But then we didn't like the ANC in university at that time, you know, because that's what we differed in political ideologies and so forth. But yeah, they're still involved. They've led regions. One guy is still leading the province. Yeah, but that's it. But I won't mention names.
Okay,
you know,
no,
but yeah,
fine.
but it's quite a complex family. So yeah, that's it.
And then what is your idea of leadership?
My idea of leadership is that in any society, in any organization, fraternity, there ought to be a line of command, you know. There ought to be a line of we have to submit somewhere. That's depending on which kind of leadership we're talking, because there's autocratic leadership where now we must everyone has no voice, and then we must take actually a charge of whatever is being happening there in terms of decisions, But also leadership can be you consulting with people that you are leading through conferences, through meetings and so forth, But my understanding of leadership is that we must be represented, Our ideologies and views and aspirations must be represented, We must get equal representation also, That means you can't have one person leading. You must have a structure that is leading, that is representing all ideas. Like in a political formation where you've got schisms within, that means you've got factions, for example. They must all be represented because you can't suppress the other, That's how it works. So I believe that everyone must be, despite of what they're believing in, must be represented,
Okay.
So we must have, that's why we've got parliament and we've got different political formations. Everyone's represented there, whether they are from the centered political formations or left political formations or far right, it doesn't matter. But you get equal sound representation, So it will be unjust and unbecoming also to be suppressed if you're an LGBTQI, if you are a woman or so forth.
Do you think that in Parliament you are all represented?
I believe so. I mean, if you look at, that's if I'm not, there's no, inaccuracy in my analysis, we're all represented because especially now in these outcomes of the 2024 elections, you get political formations like the MKP, your ANC, the EFF, DA, and everyone else. They represent different interests, and I feel like we're all represented because that's our voice, Even the demography of the parliament today, the percentages that you get, ANC in 40%, MKP in 15%, and so forth. That's us, the people in the ground.
The reason I'm asking Uti out, do you think represents
Yeah.
because it's the total population of South Africa, it's plus or minus 60 million.
Yes.
And then the total people who voted in these elections, it was 11 million, I think, plus or minus 11 million. So
perhaps let me be ridiculous and say that with my fallacious presupposition, that might be incorrect also, is that if you are not voting and you are eligible to vote, it means that you are happy with the current status quo. That means you are represented by the current status quo, which is...
Or it means that you do not believe in the political
in the politics,
leaders.
yes, maybe, or you are happy, you are comfortable. Because when we are saying people must vote, is that we see problems in politics and in society, and we believe that it should, be changed somehow. We need to adjust. We need to remove. We need to a soft coup through elections. So if that happens, then that means we need everyone. We need all kinds of views. That's hence now the GNU, which I have my own views about it, But also, if you are not voting and you are supposed to vote, unless if you are not eligible to vote or also you are a foreigner, let's say, then it means that you are comfortable. That means you are represented and you are fine with the situation that you are in. That means you want the continuity of the situation.
Okay.
So that's what I believe in. Rather than that, I think we have represented proportionally. But it doesn't matter who gets to... It matters, but it's irrelevant in terms of representation, who gets to be president and so forth.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I do believe ukuthi there's into peer pressure, and we do get it in politics, right?
Yes.
So how does peer pressure, according to you, influence ethical decision making in leadership roles?
When we got recruited in politics, one of the fundamental principles that you get, which is an ethical principle, is consciousness. So part of consciousness, it requires you to do a rigorous understanding of the problem and do what is right based on the consciousness, and also agreeing on what is right and what needs to be done. So now with peer pressure or being bullied, because especially in organizations like the EFF and all that we are in, because comrades tend to be radical, even in meetings, but radicality doesn't mean violence, So there will be robust engagements. You get a sounding yes and an inferior no, which is coming from my side, for example. So I've been the kind of leader that gets to stand for what they believe in. I never get to be bullied in a homogeneous perspective of whatever needs to be done. If I believe so and so must be chairperson, there must be chairperson, yes, we get to go to conferences and assemblies and we become delegates or we become members, we vote, we lose conferences, but at the end of the day, I believe in that idea and I move with it, So it depends what kind of peer pressure, because also politics don't end in meetings and in conferences. You get to be with your friends who are in politics. You get to be persuaded and lobbied in ideas that sometimes not ethical. Sometimes they need to compromise the organization or members or the constituency, which is in this micro scale, which is the students in UniZulu, So you are sometimes you're even bought into believing into an idea through alcohol and other things, Those are the realities that are in politics, in any organization, But you as a leader, especially as a leader, I see members, but as a leader, you ought to take a posture that you feel is good for your constituents, but also in reference to the ideology that you represent in the organization and also other political contours and political understanding of, the organization, So that's what it is. But peer pressure is there, peer pressure of doing a lot of things, girls, because you get to go to places like Gauteng, maybe in conferences where you stay in hotels and all those things, But you've got your own personal principles that you want to compromise. So EFF, you've got proportional representation of 50% males, 50% females in everything you do. 50% plus females, in fact. You can have 30% of males, because of the previous disadvantage conundrum that gets to be. So sukezikhona iy'ngane enganongazazi ingane watayigcina so kusekhona into kanjalo, but also there's alcohol, because now there are resources. You get to get these, there's free money that you get, because now we are being lobbied into ideas. So we have comrade so and so send us money, they send, and then that's it. So if I don't drink, for example, have I drank before? Yes.
You don't drink?
I don't drink at all. But have I drank before? I have drank because of, I'll say, peer pressure and also being excited, So yeah, so that's it. But those things happen. They happen in every society, in every city.
What made you lead a protest? You said something about the protest. Yeah. I'm interested in that part.
So I finished Matric 2017.
How old were you at that time?
I was 17.
Okay.
Yeah, but don't do stupid maths.
Okay,
yeah, but yeah. So the problem was you had this new term that was introduced, which is you can write your, I forgot what was it, but you can write your exams if you didn't pass grade 11, but we are condemned to grade 12. So you must perform ngama June exam and also prelim. If you don't perform, you must write the subjects that you didn't perform ngama prelim. That means your third quarter. Yeah. What happened next year? And write the pass ceiling at that quarter in December.
While we
are still in matric. Okay. That means you're gonna have matric certificate and pelele. And then you're gonna write go June next year. Because I think that thing was made to, I don't know, when pass by the Department of Education, I don't know, but they stopped it, I think.
Okay.
And it was called modularization. That was it called. Maybe they'll remember others. Also, so we didn't believe in that thing, right? Since we didn't believe because we must pass grade 11. Grade 11 is very hard, right? But then we got to grade 12, and then people who performed in grade 12, June exam and prelims, they were told that they must not write their exams, specifically in maths, physics, and life sciences, which were subjects that we were doing then, and other streams, though they performed because they were condoned to grade 12. So we didn't agree with that because as per agreement, we didn't agree on that. We understand the others who failed, right? Mm-hmm. So we took it to the district sector, the district offices of the district.
Took it as an EFF member?
No, I was not EFF member then. I was still affiliated with the Youth Congress, which is the ANC Youth League. But I was part of COSAS, COSAS is it's an ANC in high schools and primary schools. I think Malema led it in 2001 when he was still 17 or so. Nsfas is actually an organization in Youth Alliance of the ANC.
Okay.
But we're not speaking ANC politics here, so...
We're speaking leadership.
Leadership, yes,
Yeah,
definitely.
okay.
So then, so we took learners. I think 4 or 5 taxis. We went to the district office. Then I had to address that matter with then I think Umhloli, right? So he came to Eskoleni the next day, parents meeting, and I had my mother there besides me, who kept on saying, "This is my son," by the way. So every time she, I think she was proud because that was the first time I showed leadership. Though she knew I was leading, I was a learner leader, whatever, in the RCL, right? So that's what happened, and then I got to articulate that problem, and then that was it. Also, there were other squabbles and scuffles that happened within that meeting, even post that. But then we actually won that thing. So they got to write those who passed in June exams and that quarter exams. They got to write their final exams. I don't know whether they did good because now we're no longer in school as to their metric final mark.
Do you regard the protest as being a success in terms of doing away with that system that they had implied?
So the protest was not violent. We're not rascals.
I'm saying
not
the protest.
Yes,
Like doing the protest. Do you regard that as a success?
Yeah. No. I'm just saying. I'm just saying as part of that. That we're not violent. So I think it was a success, and we also got to be engaged in a progressive manner because, the protest was because it was we didn't only protest. First, we wrote a memorandum to the school, and the response was arrogant, right? So the response was arrogant, and we said, "No, comrades, we can't talk to you because you are referencing us to Stenga, right?" So, because I was this side, right? This is KwaZulu-Natal. So we said we're saying we must go to Ilembe district, which is not district. Was it district? I forgot how the specialities are there in terms of leadership. But we took it to Ndwedwe firstly, right? Few of us. Then we went to Stenga. There were many of us now. So we had Umdabu, which is a Tex in Tonton. We engaged with him. I used my Tonton ANC that time and then we got to be transported. So logistics were catered for. Okay. So it was a success. So the process was fine. We didn't act radically or as illiterates or as barbarics. We didn't do that. It was a success. I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think everyone here can agree, you're a true born leader. Because if I was in your position, Nashem, I wouldn't have done that. So okay, well, bantu kaloko. Kwakwenzeka yini ube in a position where you had to choose between a quick win and making the right thing and doing the right thing actually?
Choosing between?
Choosing between a quick win and doing the right thing.
Yeah. No, so the right thing sometimes can hinder the processes. No, there's reality, So it can hinder processes. It depends on the political dynamics because we're in politics. The current political dynamics. For example, I'll make an example, a literal example here, maybe in campus. There's the inception of the MKP, the student wing of MKP in campus. So let's say maybe it got incepted maybe close to the elections, So we had to do rational decisions at that time, which you can think they're rational, but in a shorter space of time, So it depends on the dynamics that we are in and who has came to the fore and what's or not. But I have been to positions where I have to take a quick decision because student politics is it's 1 year. It's a 1 year politics, It's a 1 year politics. It's not like ku province, ku wadi, ku national where we've got 5 years, So everything happens very fast, So but then the right thing, we're always guided by our political ideology when we have to do the right thing, and also our personal ethos and principles, But I think I've been on either side. I've took a good decision that was quick, but it was good decision, but it was not thought through. It was not rigorously thought, And I've also taken a lot of right decisions, you know, which I thought were right at that time, but then the negative spin-offs happened, you know. So it's like that. So it's merely you know. Yeah. So it's kind of wishy-washy in a way.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now that you've been on campus for
Yeah.
some time, have you recognized? Let me not. Have you recognized the 5 biggest decisions that, if you were to be president of an institution, or you were to advise someone who's president, or to rectify the challenges that universities face, the question is, can you name the 5 questions? I mean, the challenges
Yeah.
that you've seen in universities that they struggle with, that you think that you can rectify?
Okay. It's as if you know that I had aspirations to become president of this
As yeah.
institution, but a
Yeah.
lot of things happened last year, you know. But then, nonetheless, number one is that the lynching of student activism is being lynched everywhere. It's not only in UniZulu, and we cannot say it's a specific individual, right? Student activism needs to be revived. It needs to be revamped. It needs to be resuscitated, right? Which is activism in what way? Students having to have a voice in institutions of higher learning. Because now when once you have the SRC, right, when you go to, I'm making an example, I'm going to be very brief. When you go to SRC, you've got political formations who represent different people. You've got a winning political formation that won with 4,000 students. You've got the next one that won that didn't win with 3.5 students. That means you've got 3.5 students who believe in that political formation and what it represents, right? So when you lynch political student activism, we are saying that those who didn't win the elections must keep their views to themselves. There is no body that includes everyone in terms of engagement, in terms of proportional representation. For example, in New Zealand, there's no student parliament. You know, ordinarily, historical and traditional, you'd have that in institutions of higher learning, but it's not here. In other institutions, also, it's not there. You know, so I'm saying that you must make sure, as a president, you revive student activism.
Okay.
But also, you must not be bought by anyone, because once you are in the system, which is you as leadership in student governance, you are exposed to a lot of largesse, good life. In other universities, they receive stipend as presidents. They receive, here in Zulu, like other institutions, we've got good accommodation for SRC, right, and president. So once you're introduced to money and all that living, you going to Mhlanga for vacation and so forth, they do that, or a meeting with SAUS, which SAUS is like a union of SRCs in South Africa, right? You must not also be bought by the system itself, because once it assimilates you, it then, once, okay, for example, if I go to as a president, when I was campaigning, I say I'm going to radically give student water, warm water, for example, not cold water. But when I get there, I get to understand that the reason why students don't have warm water, they recruit me to understand, you know. So ngenzo understand the reason why. So I go to students and say, I start becoming the system. Once I wear the institution badge with president, I become a staff. That's the problem, you know. So you must not be bought through that, but you must not be bought through other people who want private deals through service providers and so forth. Because there is that. People don't know that, but we're not going to expose it. But it's a podcast anyways, you know. So there is that element of politics where business people approach you. They promise you money. They say, I have got cars that I want to, that must be insourced by the institution. So do this, and for, you know, there are channels, that the processes where you must insource, you know, labor or services and so forth. So there is that process. So you must not be bought. That's number 2. Number 3, make sure that you excel academically. Now, that's number 3 is very important. I come from an organization where they say they promote academic excellence, you know, and I think all political formations, they actually embrace that. But it's very hard to manage between academics and leadership, and especially as president. I have not been president of any institution of higher learning, but I've seen, you know, you get to have now, you don't attend, for example, anyone who has said they've attended the president constitutively, like,
Ayibo ngahlala eklasini mfethu ngumpresident wesikole
yeah,
ngiyowenzani lapho?
but there's one formula to pass.
Uh-huh.
Is you go to class, you attend your tutorials, progressively you right. So there is that, and also that was number 3. Number 4 is that make sure that the organization is safe when they've deployed you, right? So whoever you are representing, organization, a fraternity, once you get deployment to governance, make sure that comrades, not only comrades, the organization, can be able to come back to power. That means you must deliver on the manifesto. You, comrade, promised us water, warm water. I always make this record because it's an issue in Zulu. You promised us instant payment in terms of distribution and dispensation of allowances on Nsfas. You know, we want to have problems in A1. You know, you promised us washing machines, for example. Deliver on those, but because the SRC budget is limited, you must make sure that bread and butter issues of students are well catered for, right? And also issues of high importance. I mean, we've got in the manifesto, we've got first points. Those important points, make sure that at least you leave office, because the term office is very small. It's very limited, I would say, you know, and the budget is limited also, you know. And also, lastly, is that make sure that students are fine. You know? And maybe it can be a first or a last, but I'm just saying students are fine in terms of their living experience in university. You know, there are things that really that are unjust and unbecoming when you get into, especially in rural universities, right? Like the process of registration. You've got long lines, you know. Now, that's not the issue of maintenance and issue of services. It's an issue of these frustrating issues about, like your Wi-Fi getting to be cut in certain time. There's that Wi-Fi that postgrads use. I think I forgot what it's called. I've not been a postgrad myself, so I don't know. but all those things, you know. So long lines and systems that are not working, you know, such things, you know, they frustrate students. Whether you are delivering on some services, but things that are inherently there, they must function, you know. So it limits a lot of frustrations, because now we've got already academic frustration that is academic, you know. So I cannot have a problem of me having to wait for a bus to Vasco, to wherever where I stay for hours, you know, or having it coming to campus twice, you know, for a pickup, you know. You know, so such things you must avoid. So that means the people who voted for you must be well taken care of, the organization, and also yourself. Don't lose yourself in the process of leadership.
I want to pose this question to you, Guti.
Yeah.
So now, 2 things that I've seen as challenges.
Yeah.
The challenge of water, which I don't think is a challenge. I think it's just being made to be a problem because we enjoy complaining.
Yeah.
The one that I think is a challenge is the distribution of funds. So how would you tackle that?
Okay. So number 1 is that you've got, as I said, you've got a body that represents students that gets to sit in the policy making of Nsfas. So it's called SAUS. So each and every university must have delegation that is going there. That means the representative of SRC must go there every time now and then to speak on issues of high importance, issues of allowances, obviously, because it's Nsfas, but also to take a posture in whatever is going on, whether it's fees must fall, whether it's what, it doesn't matter, you know. So in that body, you must play a meaningful, position, a meaningful contribution, you know, to say that you can't have, because the first problem is that you've got a hierarchy according to Nsfas amongst universities. You've got the Stellenbosch and everyone else. You've got the KZN, and progressively you've got the University of Venda and University of Zululand, you know, and you've got technologies, university technologies, sorry, and you've got TVET colleges and colleges, you know. So you can't number 1 receive a less amount of allowances than other universities. For example, you don't receive accommodation allowance in UniZul, right? And also have a problem that you're going to have UniZul not receiving the allowances on time, you know. So on that board, you must make sure that you play a meaningful role. Also, you must have a direct contact to the office of Nsfas as a university. Since we cannot make Nsfas be accessible to all universities, that means we must have an office in Unizulu of Nsfas, like we've got SARS or SASA in Mpangeni and everywhere else in the country, each and every town, even small towns, even small dorpies, to have a SASA, So since we cannot, for now, have Nsfas here in Unizulu, we must have a direct contact with Nsfas,
The students having, or the student representative.
As that, or as dean of students, which is through the SSD, or as university, That means you must have a direct, because it's not direct. You cannot have, if you want, the problem is in the accommodation, press 1. If your problem is fees, press 2. We can't have that as a university. Maybe students can, So we must deal with direct human interface in terms of that issue. That means we must have a direct call when imali ebafuna ngena ngo-12, no Nsfas in office.
All right.
In Cape Town.
I wanted to ask you, Uguti, how can young leaders maintain integrity in difficult situations? Because Uguti, as leaders, kuba khona situations that are very difficult to name. So how can you maintain integrity in that kind of situation?
Integrity and what?
How can young leaders maintain integrity in difficult situations?
On difficult situations.
Yeah.
Integrity will be to be truthful.
Yes.
It's transparency.
Mm-hmm.
So I think in politics is there it exists, the lack of integrity, right? Because number one, when there are outcomes of maybe a meeting, you as I said, you can be convinced to believe something, or be promised, or be made to understand why it must be hindered, right? That process. So to be transparent is very important, because the people who voted for you, if it's a democratic, say process that you got to be a leader, need you to account to them, right? So when you are accounting, you must not frustrate people. So that means if we are saying, maybe let's say that we've got issues of electricity on campus, and you cannot say, perhaps let's say, so you can't say, okay, so you must say, okay, right? So that you don't have an abrob among the constituents. So integrity and your you must politic integrity. It's very important, because I know this is the dishonest side of politics or leadership, That means you must have a way of speaking with people, right? But also be honest and be able to, because we will hold accountable, because lies have their own way of showing up. You must never lie. Never lie, especially publicly. Can't take a position and lie, take a platform and lie in front of students, in front of the constituents that you are representing. You can't do that. So in difficult situations, when shove push to, I forgot the phrase.
Shove.
Yeah, in that yeah. Mm-hmm. So you can't be lying, because in the near future that will show up, And also it comes back to you, it comes back to your organization, it comes back to the people you are representing or entrusted with that position. So every time now and then you must come back to the people you're leading and have integrity, be accountable, take them through processes, because sometimes we'll be insulting you as a leader. Kandi, the problem is that you're not coming back to us. So that's a problem. Leaders want to account. Leaders, when they are taking responsibilities, they become celebrities. They want to come back. They're no longer addressing in meetings and in long halls where people are full and frustrated. They write through emails and statements on Facebook. They no longer come back to us, unlike when they were coming to us to say lobby us or want votes. It's no longer the same. So you must be the same leader consistently in ideology. So.
Okay, can I take this one? So you spoke about being honest.
Yes.
Can you be honest again, njengamanje? Do you think the SRC is representing our students? Do you think they are representing
SRC
students?
in general?
Yeah.
Okay. It is representing students, because that's how democracy works, If we entrust so and so as an organization, and then students vote for so and so, It means that in as much as you've got people who are too proud of being stereotypic, so they believe in an organization so much so that they will vote for anyone who is in that organization, But I believe that the SRC as a body is supposed to represent students. However, we have scenarios of where they don't do that. They represent their interests or the interests of whoever externally or management, So it is supposed to represent students, but hence I'm saying that bodies like student parliament are very important, where we get to hold the SRC accountable, all of us student leaders, but not only from political organizations, but from fraternities, because we've got the religious fraternities and organizations, there are many spaces of leadership, So leaders must come together and present, but it's not happening in other institutions. Even here, there's lack of accountability, They don't account about the money that they've spent so far, millions, by the way, because it's millions, So it is representing students because students voice through democratic processes, which sometimes can be tempered with. But also, I don't feel like that's where we are in Izulu as yet. It's not yet Uhuru. It's not yet. We are not there. Maybe we were there, but something happened, in the long run. Then we got to be where we are now. So I believe that it varies in terms of universities.
On top of the question that she asked, who do you think the EFF represents?
The EFF or the EFF Student Command, but it's the same thing. Number one is that the EFF is representing the marginalized.
What is marginalized?
Marginalized, that means people who are voiceless. Obviously, who are poor. In the then Russian language, you'd say peasants, I would say. But also the working class, that means also even the children of the working class. That those are what we have in Unizulu, which mostly are Africans, and they're black in particular, So that's who the EFF represents, the poor and the children of the poor.
With what intention?
With what intention? To because you must understand, when we're saying the poor in South Africa, we mean people who are in the circumference of the economy. Hence why the EFF Students Command, or the EFF, which is the Economic Freedom Fighters. So the intention is to bring those who are in the circumference, even outside, to the center of the means of production, which is the economy, the mainstream economy. And that is not, economy doesn't mean you must be a worker. You must be in charge of the strategic means of production and strategic means of the economy.
Which are?
Which are your mining, your agriculture, your productive sectors, which is the textile industry and so forth. Currently, there's a monopoly of that. And
do we think that to have people who can run mines from South Africa?
Definitely. If you can still have a course like mining engineering in Wits or in Nsfas or in UP, and you've got black students there and white students, you've got people who can run mining. By the way, it's black people and white people, whoever, but it's workers who have studied these say causes, or who have got capacity to work, who are making sure that those mines are working today. You Anglo-Americans, Sebanye Gold and other mines. The labor there is black. So they are making sure that that company works. So what we're talking about is that the ownership now. So the question should be, do you have people who can own mines, who can run mines? Definitely we do. There is no lack of leadership in this country or lack of entrepreneurship, by the way.
You claim that the EFF is representing the poor.
Yes.
Would you regard a person who's wearing a shoe that costs 20,000 as poor?
No, I think it's myopic argument, because it doesn't mean that when you are representing the poor, you must be poor. But he understands, and I would say Julius Malema and Floyd Shivambu and other leaders, what it means to be poor. Like me.
Again, before you respond to that, on top of that, we have a Buy Black initiative that's been supported so many times and announced. So I'm going to be direct as well.
Yeah.
Because you've mentioned him. So Julius is wearing a 20,000 shoe. The shoe is not from Africa.
Africa, yes.
Not just South Africa. It's not from Africa.
Yeah.
So he's spending the same money that the so-called
Yeah.
marginalized that they are representing,
Of course.
but it's being distributed somewhere else, which is Italy.
Yeah.
So how is that benefiting people?
Number one, it will be quite careless, selfish, and reckless of us to argue that way. Because, as I said, it's a myopic argument. Number one, let's take a recent event of Deepen July. There, it's a luxurious gala or event, right? So I'm coming to that. And people wear whatever they like there, right? You design them or not, and they wear expensive. So maybe the argument should say, would Malema have not bought maybe E-Trip or Batu to the Deepen July? And you look at the Batu and Trip. Or let's say that who makes in South Africa shoes of luxury that look like that? Let's make an example. So okay, Maklos doesn't do shoes, but it's okay. Malema does wear Maklos and other leaders of the EFF. So I'm saying that, but let me just come to this one because it's an interesting one, and I want to answer it properly.
Yeah.
You've got drip that Malema always wears in EFF rallies casually, because drip is for casualty. I don't know why. I don't work there, but I would think so based on their shoes. He does wear drip. Josie does wear Maklos and other leaders. Even Malema does wear Maklos. Buying black doesn't mean that you must always buy black. I don't think we support black businesses, but I'm just saying that there are things that we don't cater for as yet. So let's use the same conundrum of buying black, and let's use it in cars, for example. Let's use it in houses, in estates, for example. So we are not yet there. So for us to be there, definitely we do need support, and I don't think anyone can say that Malema is not supporting black people in that sector of textile and fashion. So let's say representing black people doesn't necessarily mean that you must look poor, as I said, but also you must make sure that those who are in those industries thrive as government, also as a black leader, which I think he has been doing that. I mean, let's not have a semi view of things. Let's look things in reality. Let's go.
So if we're looking things at reality, this is not about me.
Yeah.
I'm just I want you to see on the side of the economy, especially. So if we're promoting the fact that we should be expanding or spending accordingly, we should be spending within the borders of South Africa.
Yeah.
So that we grow the economy of South Africa.
Yeah.
So if there is a person who can spend on one item, when the minimum wage of South Africa is 3,500,
of course,
but you're able to spend on a shoe one item, it's not even food, one item of clothing. Do not try and politicize it and saying that you're not supposed to look poor.
Okay.
Look at the minimum wage.
Yes.
Look at the item that is being bought.
Yeah.
And then you say, it was a good question when she says, who is the SRC representing?
Yeah.
Because we can look at this at a small scale, because now we're here at university. And then thinking that it will not affect you as you grow older, because now that you are in leadership position, we never know. Maybe tomorrow you might be elected and then you're representing EFF National.
Okay, let's
and then we say, we had a chance to tell this guy, this is wrong.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to be doing it.
Definitely. I mean, you can't be living a high lifestyle on let's say, 3.5 is questionable.
Yeah.
But Malema is a member of parliament. Malema is running a fourth largest, then third largest political formation.
Is it fourth, right?
Right now fourth.
Fourth, okay.
Then third,
Yeah.
He's been in politics.
Mm-hmm.
He has his farm, he has his other small businesses in Seshego, and
which is good, by the way.
Which is good, by the way, in terms of entrepreneurship. So we need not to question where Malema gets his money. But also, have you seen Malema? No, we need not to question because we know where he gets his money from. I've said businesses and I've said member of parliament and so forth. So it's not a questionable source of income.
Okay.
Also, Malema, you get to see Malema going to a community that didn't have a water, building a well through aquifers and having water. You get to see Malema visiting kings, which are representing people, and also making sure that kids are well taken care of. The likes of Dalingebo, the likes of Tulare in Limpopo, and other kings and queens.
And Misuzulu as well.
Misuzulu as well, So also Malema supporting black businesses and black people and black communities through programs like Understatane, and also through programs where they build old age homes or they revamp old age homes, or also they build crèches and schools, you know. Even actually is an initiative of building a school, you know. So that's where EFF money goes. EFF money goes to learners who become students and study, to be pilots, you know. There are many other students who have been helped by the EFF to be pilots, you know. So that's EFF money, that's where it goes, not to fund EFF or leader lifestyles. That is not true, you know. So even if you can maybe say that is an election ploy to gain votes, but look at the EFF after the elections. Even now, that thing of Tongat, you know. Throughout the EFF.
Oh, when they took those food parcels.
So it's as if EFF is always campaigning, which is not true. We think even Spumagma elections, EFF were doing something for the community. Go to their page, you know. I'm talking about things you can actually witness through page or through the media, you know. So that doesn't happen. But I think Malema has been answering those questions of his lifestyle as more than his, because that's what is being used mostly by media, you know, to discampaign the EFF, I think. But it's a concern which he has actually addressed, you know.
So going forward, would you, if you became president of the institution, what would you do differently from the current leadership?
I think it goes back to what we've been saying. Accounting to students is very important, but also not being captured. I'm not insinuating that anyone is captured, but I'm saying not being captured because you must have, for example, first semester we had a protest and there was lynching of comrades through political espionage that got to happen, you know, and students were suspended, fighting for a genuine cause, and no one from student leadership was on their side. You know, they didn't even come to address students properly, you know. They took it as a political scoring game where issues were, you know, really frustrating at that time, because remember, you must get rest, you must get registered and so forth, right? So that is then, so you must be there for students in the time of need, as a student also, because you must remember you're also a student, you know. Also, you must not be captured, as I said. And also, make sure that, I think all based on what we've been saying, deliver what is very important to students. You know, what the students point to is not bash. It's really not important. Distressing isn't fine, but there are issues of importance, you know. So that's what you must do differently, and not looking at exactly the manifestorial points that you must deliver on. But that's what you must call it. Also make sure that not certain people are relevant in your structure. The entire structure must function. The reason why we've got religious officer, the reason why we've got social and wellness, the reason why we've got disability. You cannot have, in as much as a president is a free roller or a secretary general, but you cannot have a president being administrating issues of disability and so forth. You can't have that. So you must have a functional structure that works. That's how you build leaders, even in this level, right? Because that means you must have, maybe in mainstream politics, a functional minister and deputy minister, if it was ministers, you know.
Yeah.
So that's how it works. But there are many other things that are not right, and I'm not going to say it's the current administration, but are not right at all in the politics of UniZulu, and also the relationship with political formations and governance, you know, and also the what motivates people to lead anyways, which is monitoring.
Okay. In the sake of time, I was going to ask you to recommend 3 books
Yeah.
about leadership.
About leadership.
Yeah.
As we didn't really, in a literal sense, or literacy, learn how to become leaders. Hence, we're not perfect leaders. We're very rough texture leaders, you know. We got to be made by the EFF and other formations that we've been part of, and also by realities, you know. So in terms of books, the only books I can recommend are books of consciousness. Through consciousness, you can get to be a leader or a fighter somewhere, not through leadership, you know. So with books, I'm a reader of books, but I've never read a leadership book. Really, really, really. But ideas make me a leader, I would say.
Your own ideas.
No, ideas. The ideas that I aspire to. The ideas that are shared by many people. Not ideas that are only mine. Ideas of consciousness, of blackness, of there are many ideas that make a person, but the one I aspire to, that's why I'm in the EFF, So through ideas.
Do you think the education system is good for us, the current that we have?
Not good. From basic education to tertiary, it's not good. It makes us to be real. See, to being helped by the government and being hired. It's not. Doesn't promote skills. It doesn't. The reason why I get 1.5 from Nsfas and TVET college students get 300. But I'm making an example.
Okay.
It's not tranquil. There's no balance. So it's not just. It's not just. Can't say it's what we aspire to be as a country. In terms of what the problem is.
Thank you very much, Talente, for spending time with us today. I think we're going to do this more often. Not with the EFF alone.
Oh yeah, obviously.
Because we have this society perception that politics will save us somehow.
Yeah.
I do not believe in that personally.
Yeah.
For so many reasons. But that is a discussion for some other day.
We're gonna have it offline.
Yeah. But since you are in a leadership position, I hope that the ideas and the discussion that you'll have, you'll be able to say, okay, this might not be accepted by majority. I might not do this as a leader when I become more influential.
Yeah.
Not that you are not influential now.
Yeah.
You are influential, but you're in a position of power.
Yes.
And say, because now you're a young person. We're all young, but tomorrow, so we say sabazali, and then you have to make decisions that do not only affect us, but that affect many millions of people out there.
Yes.
So thank you very much, Prazo. Your last words, says Val.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. No, there's not much, but it's to commend yourselves for inviting us and for us to be able to articulate some of the things, and also to analyze the work of UNISO, because I feel that there are no platforms such as this one. So it's highly commendable for yourselves too, but also to the viewers. It's very important that they understand the context in which we're discussing this. Suppose the elections. We're not campaigning when we say some things. It's through our lenses. We cannot be correct. We might be wrong also. But also very important to subscribe, I would say.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
All right.